Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
337-pounder tabbed as possible Cowboys breakout after 2023 struggles. Sometimes all it takes is a change of scenery to unlock a player's potential, but in Dallas Cowboys defensive tackle Mazi Smith's case, the 2023 first-round pick could see similar green shoots from the arrival of new defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer. Smith, 6'3" and 337 pounds, produced only 13 total tackles, 1 sack, and 3 tackles for loss, while making 3 starts in 17 appearances after being chosen by the Cowboys with the number 26 overall pick. But Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox put together a list of 3 potential breakout stars for the Cowboys this season, including Smith bouncing back from a disappointing rookie season. Putting Smith in a more natural role should increase his efficacy on the field, Knox writes for Bleacher Report. The second-year defender should also have more opportunities to get on the field. With Hankins and Neville Gallimore both gone, Smith has a chance to step into a starting role. Expect Smith to showcase that new role and how he fits into Zimmer's overall defensive game plan in the coming months. One current NFL defensive coach is a bit skeptical, suggesting to Heavy that the Cowboys overdrafted Smith, but suggests a new scheme may bring out the best in him as a player. Mike Zimmer's new scheme will be better suited for him, the coach told Heavy, on the condition of anonymity to speak freely about a player on another team, because he's best at playing blocks, rather than just getting upfield in the type of scheme they ran last season. Zimmer's arrival could usher in new ways to deploy Smith's immense power and athleticism rarely found in a player his size. Smith's new defensive coordinator believes there is significantly more upside in the former Michigan standout than he showed last season. Zimmer plans to tear down Smith and build him back up during the offseason program and training camp this summer in hopes of turning him loose to wreak havoc in opposing backfields this fall. Obviously, he was a high draft pick, and I heard that he kinda struggled a little bit last year, Zimmer recently told reporters. We're gonna start with the basics. Get him in a good stance, get him using his hands the right way, getting his footwork the right way, and then kinda go from there. We anticipate that he's going to be a good player like he was in college. Cowboys are betting big on big jumps from wide receivers. As CeeDee Lamb stays away from the Cowboys' offseason program, some of Dallas' younger wide receivers are getting valuable reps on the practice field with quarterback Dak Prescott during OTA practices, after moving on from Michael Gallup, and waiting to select a wide receiver until taking Ryan Flournoy in the 4th round of April's draft. The Cowboys are looking for someone to emerge as a reliable and consistent third option behind Lamb and Brandon Cooks. Perhaps the biggest beneficiaries of Lamb's absence are Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Brooks, who could make significant pushes to lock down the third receiver role with a strong spring and summer. We expect all of those guys to make a jump, wide receivers coach Robert Prince told reporters via the team's official website. It starts with Jalen Tolbert. He made a big jump from year 1 to year 2, and we expect the same thing to happen for him going into year 3. And Jalen Brooks, he works hard, and he's one of those guys that's always studying, and he can play all of the WR positions. So we're looking forward to seeing what he can do this year as well. Tolbert caught 22 passes for 268 yards and 2 touchdowns last season, while Brooks added just 6 receptions for 64 yards. It's always possible the Cowboys bring in a veteran free agent on an affordable team-friendly contract, but it appears the young players will get the first chance to prove they're capable of an expanded role. Micah Parsons plans Cowboys return. Cowboys all-pro edge rusher Micah Parsons has stayed away from the team's voluntary offseason program amid stalled negotiations on a possible long-term contract. However, that might be about to change. Just texted with Cowboys to Micah Parsons. Parsons was not at OTAs today in Frisco, but tells me he will be back for in-house and national media responsibilities next week, Tuesday, the 28th, and minicamp. NFL Network reporter Jane Slater said via X, unlike the off-season program and OTAs, minicamp is mandatory, so that appears to be the first time the Cowboys will have Parsons on the practice field this spring. Parsons' immediate future and the state of his contract talks could hinge on the outcome of the Cowboys' negotiations with Prescott, but it sounds like Parsons plans to at least be around his teammates in the coming days and weeks. Shocking, proposed trade sees Cowboys acquire former 1,000-yard RB. Proposed trade would see the Dallas Cowboys acquire a former starting running back. In a list of shocking trade targets compiled by Bleacher Report's Alex Ballantini, Houston Texans running back Dameon Pierce is one of the players mentioned. The 24-year-old Pierce had a sensational rookie season for the Texans in 2022, running for 939 yards on 4.3 yards per carry, while contributing 165 receiving yards in 13 games started. Ballantini argues that Dallas' lack of young, viable depth at the running back position would make the Cowboys an ideal landing spot for Pierce. A young running back with a higher ceiling would be a good addition, writes Ballantini. Most teams aren't willing to part with those players in a trade. Dameon Pierce might be an exception for the Houston Texans. Pierce had over 1,100 yards from scrimmage as a rookie but fell out of favor in his sophomore campaign. Why Dameon Pierce should be a viable trade target. As Ballantini mentions, Pierce fell out of favor during the 2023 season when the Texans started shifting carries towards veteran back Devin Singletary. Making matters even worse is that the Texans acquired former Pro Bowl running back Joe Mixon from the Cincinnati Bengals. Mixon started 88 of his 97 career games with the Bengals since the 2017 season, rushing for over 1,000 yards in 4 different seasons. In other words, Pierce is the clear-cut number 2 and will likely play a complementary role to Mixon. Meanwhile, the Cowboys lack a clear-cut number 1 option, with veteran signees Ezekiel Elliott and Royce Freeman, along with holdovers such as Deuce Vaughn, Malik Davis, and Rico Dowdle all competing to be the starting running back. The last 3 runners have yet to start a single game among them. Meanwhile, Freeman has started just 1 game since the 2019 season, and Elliott is one of just 2 active players with at least 2,000 career carries. Acquiring Pierce, a former 4th-round pick with just a $1.2 million cap hit for the 2024 season, would essentially solve the Cowboys' running back void with a bargain salary. What Cowboys would give up in potential Dameon Pierce trade, while Ballantini doesn't mention exactly what round pick the Cowboys would part with, a 4th or 5th round pick should be sufficient enough to acquire Pierce from the Texans. Perhaps a fresh start for Pierce would be good for both sides, and the Cowboys should be willing to part with a pick to have a shot at a young back with upside, writes Ballantini. Pierce obviously staggered through a rough 2023 campaign, rushing for 416 yards on 2.9 yards per carry, the lowest average among all running backs last season. According to Pro Football Focus, the advanced analytics paint a better picture of Pierce's play. Pierce posted a respectable 66.6 offensive grade and 64.7 rushing grade last season. The offensive grade ranked 64th among 130 running backs. However, he's proven he can excel before, and a fresh start in Dallas, as the number 1 option with a couple of complementary pieces supporting him, could help put Pierce back on the right track.